Hi everyone, I'm Tim Goebel, founder of Ryza Content.
And I'm Trudy Liegenbauer. You are here because we are going to talk about creating content using Ryza, but more importantly, creating content using a system. So we're probably going to use Ryza just as an example because Tim and I built it together. But all right, well, I guess people are here, so we can start. Okay, something is. Well, I'm going to mute it. You're on mute.
I, yeah, I'm Tim Goebel. Hi everyone, I'm Tim Goebel, founder of Ryza Content.
Oh, you need to mute your thing probably. Liegenbauer? It's a little delayed, that's why. Sorry. Um, so I guess we can talk about creating social content 10 times faster, basically. Tim, do you want to take the lead on it or do you want me to? It's your choice. You're on mute again.
You can take the lead.
All right, well, since we're only five people, I don't even know what questions to start by answering. Does anybody have a question that I can answer? You can hop in on the Zoom link. It'll be easier to just have a conversation. But it's your choice.
Sure. My name's Leo. Is the audio okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi. Hi. Yeah. So my name's Leo. I just had a question around the theme development. If there was a potential like list of suggestions on how to use the theme would be really helpful for me.
Wait, so you're talking about Ryza. I'm just talking about general social media content. Ryza is just one of the tools that can be used, but
Correct.
we can talk about that off um, later on because this is not about Ryza actually.
Sure. Right, right. So then let me rephrase it then. In terms of themes and how to create like a brand in general, right? Like what would you recommend on how to do that?
Well, you need to know, and that's actually what we're going to talk about, that um, a lot of the people, a lot of the people who are trying to create content, they often get lost in trying to rewrite and restyle and resize whatever they've written. So sometimes it's like, oh, well, it's not good enough. And I think one of the default behaviors these days is that people will throw it into Chat GPT or OpenAI or whatever. And then whatever result they get, they tend to think of it as being the absolute truth. And even if they edit it, they don't. I'm guilty of it myself. So this is not me being.
Yeah, we all are guilty of forgetting to edit.
Or even if we edit, we
I'm
don't.
guilty of it too. I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, even if we edit, we don't read it as finely as we would if we were writing it. And
yeah,
that creates the disconnect because then um, whenever you throw it into GPT, it depends on whatever it feels like on that day or whatever personality type they're experimenting on you on that day, because the voice will change. If you use, even if you wanted to copy, paste, and go, it's not just your voice, but it's also the voice of whatever GPT model you end up using on that day that'll affect the output. Um, and the other big problem is that when you overthink it, you just sit in front of a blank screen going, what should I write about? What should I write about? What should I write about? And that's why having a system in place is helpful. So I'm going to go through this presentation real quick, Leo, but I really like your question and I will come back to it momentarily. Um,
the other thing is about using systems, and if you're using GPT and that there is no guardrail on just using plain old GPT. It'll go out and just search whatever and it'll hallucinate on things. But now if you add in guardrails into it, that makes a world of difference.
So a lot of good creators, and I say that because of having talked with a lot of people who either can create content constantly or fluctuate. They have modes, I mean, they have highs and lows. They'll create content for 2 consecutive weeks and then they'll stop because they're like, okay, I ran out of ideas now. Or they create content sporadically, 2 or 3 times a week, but they don't know what the content should be about. And I know a lot of people who are like me, who are what I like to call polymath, where they know and want to talk about so many different things that then there is no on brand behavior that they display. And this is me being self critical more than anything else. But it's like one day I'm talking about economics, and the other day I'm like, oh, but inspiration, oh, paintings, right? And that's okay. But this is the reason why it is important to know the purpose behind whatever content it is that you're creating. Because when you're just inspired every day, it's good. It's a different kind of content. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. In fact, a lot of social media platforms outside of LinkedIn encourage that kind of creativity to a deeper extent. But that's where that individual versus brand versus business differential comes in. It's like first you have to identify why you're posting on social media. Because if you're posting as a business, as an individual, or to build a brand. And all these things, therefore, mean that your inspiration, your thought process, and your past content have to come together to say a uniform story about you. If you're ad hoc, like I said, I'm guilty of it. If you're ad hoc, that's fine, but there has to be some connecting thread that you find. In my case, posted statistics is the common thread that I have found. Like, this is what I do. This is what people recognize me for. You'll see a lot of creators on LinkedIn who seem to post random stuff, but there is always a common thread. It's either inspirational content, or it's funny content, or it's health related, multiple different streams, but the successful ones are the ones who are known for one thing. The question is, what do you want to be known for? And that is how you establish a brand. That is how you guide your thinking. That is how you build your system. And that is how you create a reusable library. Now, when I say reusable library, it goes across platforms and across time. And we'll discuss that more. But any questions before I proceed?
Would you say it also goes across, besides going across platforms, would you say it also has to go across the video from, if we're doing a post on just an image to a video to past videos to like PowerPoints and stuff like that? Would you have to say all that has to align too, wouldn't you?
You want it all to be aligned. That is the key. What you said is the key. The thing is that when you create multiple content outputs, now it depends on which platform you're on, right?
Yep.
Once upon a time when Twitter only had a restricted 150 characters or whatever, that was a very different style of writing than what you had on Facebook or LinkedIn. But all of these platforms have evolved now. And what is consistently happening is people's attention span is down to maybe 3 seconds. 5 if you're really lucky, right? Which means that whatever content you create, you want to capture their attention. If you capture their attention, they will read more. That's the reason why they say you need a good hook for your content. But the fastest hook for any content on any platform is a visual. It's either a slide, an image, an infographic, or a video, right? Or a carousel. The thing is, what is the first thing that they see? And will it cause them to hang around or swipe to the next, right? I mean, people are doing that with relationships now, swiping right and left. So content is even much low stakes, in terms of capturing someone's attention. Now, that being said, I'm not encouraging people to do stupid things because you are building a brand. It is your reputation that's out there on social media. If you want a certain kind of reputation, go right ahead. I'm not judging that behavior. But traditionally, at least, LinkedIn has not been rewarding those behaviors. And therefore, it becomes more important to maintain this on brand voice across platforms, because whether you're posting on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, that content is being collected uh, in memory, in Google, Bing, whatever search engines. So when someone searches for you, it shouldn't be like, wait, they're doing some dance videos here, but then they're talking about this here, and then they're talking about that there, which is fine. I mean, you figure out what your sweet spot is. But until you figure it out, try different things. But sooner than later, figure it out. Because once you figure it out, that's where the system comes in. Once you figure it out, you know what your consistent point is. Also, don't always post a video. Don't always post an image. Don't always post a PowerPoint. Change it up. People don't want to read the same thing from you again and again and again. Change it up. They get it. They get it. You're an expert with data. You're an expert with AI, whatever. But what is different about it? What is new about it? What do you want to be known for, right? And that's where proven content comes handy. It's like, oh, well, I talked about Bitcoin that one time and it really took off. People were really interested. And if you're like me, then it also gives you a chance to be like, maybe I should learn a little bit more about it, because then I can write more authoritatively about it, right? So get out of that stuck zone by just experimenting. And that's the beauty of social media. You do something completely stupid, 3 days later, other than you, nobody remembers it. It's got too many things going on, too many people who are silly, doing crazy stuff. You're not that important. I hate to tell you this, but it's true. So people don't care what you do. And that's a good thing. Use it in your favor. People don't care what I do. So let me do something that makes me happy, that makes me satisfied, instead of constantly trying to second guess, is this saying what I wanted to say? Just be like, is this saying what I thought I was going to say at first? And if so, let's go for it. If it doesn't sound like you, rewrite it tomorrow, man. Like, you got that choice. So for that inspiration to inputs framework, for a system, you need inputs. For a system to work consistently for you, that's where that theme question comes in, Leo. It's a question of finding out what is the goal that you are trying to achieve with this post that you're about to make. Who is the audience, right, that you want to address? And what kind of an example or illustration or proof or insights do you want to offer about it? If you just answer these 3 questions, that's your theme. I want to talk to, one of the common themes in some of my posts has been helping people who are looking for jobs. So when I'm thinking about creating content for them, I always go, all right, what is my goal? I want to help people who are looking for jobs. That's also my audience, right? And how am I going to explain this? I can create some kind of an inspirational illustration. I can give an example. I can share my own experience. All of these things in my basic, simple draft form is the theme. So if you're using GPT or Copilot or any one of the AI things, you would have to write out the prompt yourself. There are a lot of tools, including ours, which will allow you to pick these things before you write about them, right? So you're not prompting, you are sharing your thoughts. What theme do you want to address? What expertise angle do you want to take, right? And that's where that voice comes handy. I am not a machine learning expert. If I use machine learning as the expertise field, but I don't know enough about it, I can't edit the output because I don't know what's right and what's wrong. So it's one of those things where it's like hallucinations occur, but do you know enough about your own expertise to test and edit as required and move on instead of getting stuck on something?
Uh, if they don't edit, it'll affect their own brand. If they don't edit that stuff, especially with the hallucination, when they think that they're an expert in one area and they're not, and they don't edit.
Yeah, and so that's that. It's a very key point. We want to talk, I mean, I want to bring to attention, don't try to address experts in a field. Address it from the viewpoint of your own expertise. You can talk about AI and machine learning. I do that a lot, but from the perspective of data. My expertise is in data. So I don't put AI ML up there. I'm going to put it in my team. Like, I want to address this to AI ML experts because I am a data expert, right? So that's the differential. So you've got to be careful about audience versus your own expertise. Another thing, and this is a question of ideating, but ideating with a purpose, not ideating randomly, right? Um, you want to have, you want to create multiple posts based on one theme, one idea. And actually, here's a lower hanging fruit. If you've ever written a white paper, if you've ever written a case study, if you've ever read a white paper or a case study that was of interest to you, it is perfectly okay to use that as the springboard for what you want to say about it. Because the whole point is to share your opinion within your expertise on a particular topic, right? So if McKinsey writes a report that is written from a McKinsey's angle, what is your angle on it? What does Leo have to say about it? That becomes the theme, right? So if you put that in, and that's the other thing, don't ideate for 12 million posts all in one go. You will go crazy. Pick one thing, pick restricted ideas. And it's not about being wordy, it's about being impactful. If you don't have a clear plan of action, then you're not actually achieving anything. You're just making noise, right? Um, and there are a lot of automation tools. There's a lot of AI. Most people I know have GPT. It creates some free images as well, even if you're not paying for it. Copilot will create images for you all day long, as long as you hear all the long explanations it has to give about, oh my God, so there was this and there was that and there was this. But you know what? At least it gives free images. So you go, I'll deal with it, right? But then, is it on brand? And that's where the problem starts. So if you are going to use any of these tools, start saving the prompts that you write yourself when you create an image that you actually like. And the reason I'm saying that is if you create something that you like, you can tweak that prompt to create something similar later on. I mean, that's the freebie option. That requires a lot of work on your part. There are tools which can make sure that those guardrails that you need for consistency are maintained at the back end. They're based on, it's everyone's heard these terms these days, agentic AI and all of that. But this is what it means. An agent is like, all right, I'll save your prompt for you and talk to the AI on your behalf. Make sure that it meets your standards before we get it back to you. That's basically an agent, right? And you can have multi-layers. And Tim knows this stuff a lot more than I do. I don't call it agent. I just like it's code, right? But so I'm gonna let you go ahead, Tim.
No, you're good. Like a lot of people think with agents that there's a lot, like me and you were talking the other day. basic agents that a lot of people understand right now. They'll go online and be like, hey, let me create a prompt to do my image. Well, that's a basic prompt. Well, now if you want to start aligning your whole brand to everything, now you're going to start diving into a multi-level agent that has so much more stuff that it needs to stay aligned to keep your brand. And that's where we start focusing in.
So basically, we want to make sure that we have thought it through before we start typing it through. And that makes a big difference because that's what I mean. If you're doing it on your own, then you don't have a guardrailed agent. So you have to be sure that you're saying exactly what you need to remain on the same
You got to
path.
be conscious of that to make sure that you're aligned with your brand, or if you're doing it even for someone else, you got to make sure you're conscious of what those inputs are and did you structure it correctly? Because I remember when me and you first started off, we found out that a structure was in the wrong order and we had to fix it because it was causing some other issues. But that's the other key factor is making sure that structure is correct.
Yeah. So option one is to create that system or structure at the back end so that you have consistency. You can write it as a prompt or whatever, or again, just use a tool. But basically, and that brings us to this point, is we have to take into account your brand, the brand that you want, or whatever you're trying to convey, and the risk that you're taking with your reputation when you're building content. Because in the short run, yes, one-off posts that don't work or don't are not on brand is not a big deal. But if you're consistently all over the place, um, it's like going into a crowded room and just talking out loud without actually having a conversation with anybody. I mean, I'm sure people do that, but we usually call them crazy. So I guess it would work the same way on social media. I don't know. I've never
I
tried
don't
it.
know.
I've been very tempted.
Yeah. I think everyone does that once in a while. They'll go crazy
Yeah.
on it.
Post something and you go, I shouldn't have posted that, but
Yes.
that's what the delete button's for, by the way. Just saying. Um, so create a simple checklist of must-use language. If you're going to talk about data and you're not going to refer to core data terms, then you're not really talking about data and it'll show. Um, Make sure that, especially if you're doing prompting with AI, you will have to tell it over and over again, do not invent things that are not in what I gave you, because it will invent. And it's all a part of, making sure that if you're using an AI, any Gen AI, that you clearly, as a part of what you write, tell it, do not do this, do not, and avoid. Don't use the word do not. Evidently, it confuses AI. So use avoid, 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 right? So making sure that you have a consistent voice, style, colors, and style of graphics that you use. Um, I know a lot of people who use Gen AI tools, but they have massive prompts that they have saved in their systems. Again, system is the key word here, so that their output remains on point with minimal edits required. So either you build that system yourself or you find a system that you can trust that'll do it for you. Um, because you don't want to risk your reputation, especially if you're doing this for a business setting, because now it's not just you, it's your whole entire group and team that can be affected.
One other thing I would add to this is the know your audience level. What I mean by that, are they a C-suite or are they not a C-suite? So make sure you know that when you are talking, because certain ones understand certain lingo. Like if you're talking data or AI, like computer vision for me, I wouldn't go to the C-suite and start diving into the layers of that AI because they would be like, why is that important to me?
That reminds me of those initial, what you were talking about, this sequence of things when you put it in a system.
Yeah.
Um, and it was like, I don't even understand what the output is saying. Used jargon that was just completely foreign. And that's actually that. Anyway, that was just like Tim and me going, okay, I don't even know what that means. They're like, I don't know, what does DQ mean here? I'm like, I don't know. So we simplified our system big time. But Tim's right. Knowing, again, going back to who is your audience before you start creating content is critical. Most platforms will reward content that explains things simply without over dumbing it down.
Yeah.
And that is because nobody likes to be talked at. People like to be talked to. So remember that when you use big terms or very highly specific terminology that applies within your field, the only people who will make any sense of it are people who are within that field. For the rest of the people, it's just like noise. Um, trust me, when I first started posting on LinkedIn, I was putting in Python code. You know how many impressions I got a day? 30, if I was lucky. So yeah, that went out the window really fast. Oh, my beautiful code. Um, this is another key thing that creators forget, that if you have been creating, even if you've been creating sporadically for a while, you created a piece of content because it was in some way, shape, or form important to you. Some posts must have performed better than the others. Try to refresh it. Your audience, and on most platforms, your feed and where your topic fits into the feed changes because of the algorithm all the time.
Yeah.
10 years ago, nobody cared about Bitcoin. Suddenly, Bitcoin and crypto are on top of people's minds. Well, so if you created a content on it which didn't do well, you wrote a blog about it 10 years ago, go in, find out, refresh it, update it. But it's okay. Nobody else other than you remembers that you wrote about it even 10 days ago. Forget 10 years. So again,
How would you say what would they use to know about a piece of content that is really worth reusing? What would you recommend for them to do to know that? Like for us, I know we would use post it, save it because it gives us the analytics. But what would another person do? Is there other tools that they could use, or would you recommend them go to post it, save it, and use that tool because how powerful it helps be able to say, okay, use this. This was your best post to use.
people have different tools. Typically, you can go to, even if you wanted to just say, I'm giving an example of LinkedIn, but it applies to Instagram, Facebook, all of them. Go and find some of your best performing posts in the past, say 3 months or 6 months or whatever. Most of these platforms will keep your past posts in their algorithm for about 2 months. So if you reuse content from within the last 2 months, that is exactly the same, it'll trigger a repost reaction. I mean, internally for algorithms. But if you refreshed it, if you changed it a little bit, change the background music if it was a video, change some of the terminology, changed the write-up that goes along with it, then it could be the same piece of content, but it's been written with a slightly different angle, and then you're fine. But in terms of how to save the content, one option is that I know some friends of mine, actually, that's what had triggered the whole post it, save it, build, was they were manually saving everything into folders. And I was like, dude, if you just give me the links that you have, I can run that for you and send you, you can have it all in like a Word file. Like, really? Yeah, really. Because then it becomes searchable. So you can say, I wrote a post on inflation 3 months ago. I wonder where it is. And it's just a question of me going to my, actually not even to the Word file. I just go to my computer and look for, in the folder where I have it all saved, and I'll just go inflation. It'll flag which months I had posted for inflation, and I can go and get that out of my library, sometimes to reuse and sometimes to revisit, because again, that's where consistency comes in, at least internally. If I had taken a certain stance on it in the past and my stance has changed, then even explaining why my stance has changed becomes a very worthy post. So again, having a library means that you know what you've been writing about, what you want to write about. And sometimes when you're running out of time, just a quick way to get something out there for consistency. Tim's laughing at me because it happens to me more than I like to admit.
Well,
But
it happens to everyone. Like today, I would have to say I did a post for LinkedIn, but lately I've been like doing LinkedIn and also Instagram, Facebook, and also YouTube. But today I just didn't have time. I just didn't do it. I only did the one, and that was it. But I'm not beating myself up over it. I was like, oh well, it happens.
no, no, no. Thank you for not generating an additional video in the app. I appreciate you. But so you want to approved posts in this case can mean approved either by, the audience, as in there was a lot of feedback, reactions, interactions with it. It could have gone viral. That happens. Or you had some higher up in there who was like, oh, dude, this is awesome. You need to write more about it. Oh, Ranbir has a question. Go ahead, Ranbir.
Yeah, no, thank you. This is great. Um, I love the fact that y'all are thinking outside of the box because everybody's post is just like everybody's using AI and you know it's AI and it's like just clean it up a little bit to make it at least seem like it came from, you know, something that was organic or and I don't know, that's probably even out the door, but the challenge that I'm running into, and again, I permanently deleted my Facebook. I just and my personal experiences, there's a lot of scammers that live there,
Yep.
not especially for at least what I'm trying to do per se, but or Instagram or X or any of those other platforms. But one thing I noticed what LinkedIn did is if you have a premium service, like if you have a premium plan, there's like a boost button. So basically, like if you want more impressions, you have to pay for it now, and it's kind of BS and bogus because a lot of my impressions have significantly gone down. I used to get like a, a good number, right? A good number would be like 1,000 posts, but or some are just hit or miss, right? Like if I post some like job opportunities, for example, those obviously are hitting high. But if I post talking about like, AI and like, how how's the AI securing your data, for example, those don't hit as much. I mean, that's kind of what I'm running into. And I don't know, again, if it's because of that boost button or LinkedIn keeps changing the algorithms.
I don't use Boost. I actually have a premium account, and I don't use the Boost button at all. I used to get like thousands of likes and all that on my posts, but then I stopped doing things, and now I'm just hovering around 50 every day. But I could say that what really helping is the hashtags on it, and also the hook is really helping on my end. And now I'm changing it up from not just doing infographics, carousels. I'm actually doing short videos, regular an image video now, and so it's changing it up everything. And I'm starting to see a a new improvement of things by
Oh,
doing it.
okay, okay. Yeah, I'm just doing posts. I'm not doing, maybe I should start doing those short. I don't even know how to do the shorts, but I'll figure it out. Something different. Like people want to
Yeah.
like Dr. Kruthi said earlier, like people's attention span is like a gnat. Like 2, 3 seconds, they're on the next post. So
No, but that's one of the reasons why once I started working with Tim, I started going down what I call rabbit holes and he calls sinkholes because I'll be like, wow, we need to do that. Then we do it.
You would have little rabbit holes, but the other day was a giant sinkhole.
But I fixed it. It's
Yeah.
but it's okay. The algorithm, the boost button, the premium. At the end of the day, your impressions don't matter. Your
no, they don't. They don't.
consistency does. When someone is trying, if even if one right person finds you on any social media or Google search, whatever, and they like what you have to say, they're going to go and look at what else you've said. And that is the purpose. At the end of the day, for any social media account, it's not about popularity. It's not about, oh my God, I'm such a cool person. It's about,
I
does
have a
the
million
right,
followers. Like,
God, yeah, that's so totally me. I got like viral and all. No, the point is, I might have 200 impressions on a post, which is happening more and more these days, but I'll get 2 followers out of it. And then I could have 10,000 impressions on a post and nobody follows or saves it.
I
And
know, I know. This one time, this was like last year. I posted something. I forgot what it was talking about the cybersecurity job markets and salaries and that thing got like 50,000 impressions. That's the highest I've ever gotten ever, like period. But like, again, not really any bites for clients or anything or potential leads, right?
I would
Um,
actually say on that, you said leads and all that. I posted stuff last year on computer vision a lot. And I could say all that built up for this year. Like I was telling Dr. Crudy, in the last couple months, I've had a lot of companies reach out to me for leads or projects for computer vision, all the way from all over the medical field, actually.
no, that's awesome.
Which
That's
I'm
awesome. But
shocked because that
yeah,
was last year, and now it's
it's
coming
awesome.
through this year.
It's awesome. I am in the cybersecurity field, so we don't get as much love compared to your field.
Computer vision is saturated, so it's not like that.
well, and
It's
actually,
okay.
I'm going
Just
to
like
say
AI
something.
became transactional, unfortunately. Sorry, Dr. Krishnan.
No, no, no. I was actually just going to say that Ranbir and I've had this discussion in the past where it's like you can't talk to people about technical aspects of cybersecurity with the assumption that they would know what any of those terms mean. He wrote his first newsletter, awesome. Second
Oh,
newsletter,
oh yeah, that's right. Dr. Krishnan, you helped me. Thank you so much to get me into
no,
that.
no,
I
no,
appreciate
that's
it.
fine. The second newsletter, I'm reading it and I'm messaging him. I'm going, I, I, I think I'm a pretty smart person, but I don't know what you just said. And so I'm
I
like, you
got too
need to dumb it
technical,
down.
and then I'm like, you know what? Let me just talk about like real world scenarios, right? Like, this whole cloud um but hype, right? Like 20 years ago, you're gonna not need IT. You're not gonna need, you can get fire your IT team. But what's ironic is those things all came back because now they're in data centers, right? So
Yeah.
owned by or leased owned or actually mostly leased by Amazon, Google, or um, Microsoft, and many others that are out there, right? But Amazon, obviously Amazon owns what 35% of the internet, something like that.
All
Anyway,
right,
it's crazy.
I know we're kind of over time, so I'm gonna finish out soon. But basically for creating content fast, sorry, Ranbir, I would
No, no,
love
no.
to
Go
close
ahead.
up, but
Go ahead.
it's
Go ahead.
just
Sorry,
one
I
of
just
those
went off a
things where I
tangent
don't
there.
want to keep people longer.
Yeah, no
Uh,
worries. Go ahead.
but automate the first drafts and formatting, send it through AI, that's fine. Write it in casual language, get it polished a little bit. but reserve your time for nuance and judgment. Read carefully. Just because it seems like it was formatted well doesn't mean that it's actually telling you exactly what you thought you were trying to say. Also, when you create content, make sure it's in some way, shape, or form actionable. There are goals, there's some relationships, there's some clarity that it brings to the table for someone who's reading about it. If it's all like, yeah, let me tell you about this, why should I care? Tell me why the reader should care. So that is a part of what your post should be about. Most people get lost in writing posts because they're like, I want to explain this to my audience very clearly. No, they want it simple. They want the 5 steps that will help them based on whatever it is that you're saying. So if there is nothing actionable in your post, now if you're just venting, that's great. Then the action item is, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you, Crudy. But other than that, just make sure that there's something that the end user can take away. This is, if you're working as a team for content creation, this is a question of making sure that your inputs and guardrails are consistent across all roles, that there's a clear ownership for the reviews. And there's some lightweight approvals that can be baked into the workflow to begin with, right? Okay, use this logo, not any other for all the content. Use video style only. Use images only, right? Those are things, or use brand colors only, no deviations. Those are the kinds of things that can be set up very quickly. Again, look for patterns, refine your inputs, and save whatever lessons you learned into your library. Don't just put lipstick on a pig and call it pretty, all right? Like, don't use a pig. Again, here's the best way to bring it in as a system into your business workflow, whether you're an individual or a business, but don't rely on algorithms. Adapt. If your reach has gone down, it may not just be your fault. Check if your content has changed significantly. If it has, that might be an indicator. Look at the last 3 to 4 weeks of data. It takes about a month for anything to really stick. All right. So just like a new habit takes 21 days to form, a new style will take 21 days to figure out if it's working or not. So don't start posting and be like a month later, well, nothing's changed. Well, you haven't given it time. It took you months of no posting to get to this point. It's going to take you a few weeks of posting to get out of it. Go ahead, Tim.
Like it could be as simple as someone may have changed an input that they didn't realize on their prompt when they're trying to create content. You could have changed an input just slightly and it'll change your whole image or your whole post from what it used to be like.
Yeah.
So be conscious of if you're using prompts, make sure your inputs are all aligned. So.
And also, whatever, like I said earlier, that whichever model, if they have updated the model recently, then the outputs that they're looking for are based on a completely different set than they were in the past. So if that starts happening, go in and change your prompt, adapt it to meet that guardrail correctly. Okay, actionable items, right? That's the last bit. Define your inputs for one content theme at a time. Simple checklist, owner map. What do you want to do yourself? What do you want the system to do for you? And just have a ready to ship library. When you have an idea, go ahead and create the content, save it, and reuse it when you're running out of other ideas. Or, scheduling it is great, but sometimes it's a question of, I have this idea, and that's what Tim was saying. He does a lot of his posts on his phone because he'll get an idea, he'll go to ryzacontent.com, enter it in, get the post ready, and then he'll just save it because it's like, all right, I'll use it later, but now I have it ready. So that helps. And and that's it.